workers organization for the Sweet Home community and a little of the surrounding area. We're the ones who maintain this facility, and we are honored to have you give your presentation. We know you're going to give us a lot of good information this morning, so I hope those who are in attendance take really good notes. So at this time, I'm going to pass it on to Mr. Larry Lofton, the AG Farm Division Director.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
And I thank you, sir, for your warm welcome. And I would love to hear more about Mountain Home. So if you have an opportunity, would you please come back and tell us a little bit about the history of Mountain Home? Okay. So having said that, I'm Larry Lofton, and I am the director of the farm program for Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation. And I would just like to thank you all on behalf of our board of directors under the leadership of Dr. Cornelius and our president, Dr. Calvin King, who is always with us, but unfortunately duties called today, more important things that had to be done. He didn't have a choice. You know, when it's congressional, you have to go when they invite you, because that's a very short window of opportunity there. But thankfully, because of technology, Dr. King is online, and what I'm going to do is cut my presentation here, my little introduction short, so that we can hear Dr. King give an overview of the programs that we conduct in Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation and some of his institutional knowledge on Arkansas, the Delta region, and the opportunities that are available in this region. And I would also like to point out one of our board members, Mr. Nash. We thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you. Mike.
Yes, let me say good morning to everyone. I hope you all can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, as Mr. Lofton said, my name is Calvin King, and I'm the CEO for Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation. I would like to also express my appreciation to the Sweet Home, Mountain Home community and area for hosting this meeting today. You know, I've been informed also that Mr. Bob Nash is in the audience, and before I get into my presentation, I want to give you a little background on Mr. Nash. First thing is that any and everything that I could possibly say here today, Mr. Nash already has that knowledge and understanding, both of USDA as well as what our organization is all about. He was one of the founding board members of Arkansas Land and Farm Development Corporation, which is the parent entity for Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation. It is now the asset holding entity for the work that we have done over the years. You know, another thing about Mr. Nash, and hopefully he'll have some input in the meeting as we proceed and go through the agenda. Mr. Nash also served as the undersecretary under President Bill Clinton for USDA back in the days, and of course, you know, that has been some years ago. But as a founding member, he clearly understood the need for underserved communities and unserved communities. So with that, you know, I'm going to talk about, you know, the agenda and a little bit about Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation. Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation is a program service delivery entity for for programs that were established roughly some 44 years ago by Arkansas Land and Farm Development Corporation. This particular meeting today is to talk about a number of areas for program service delivery with organizations that we work in partnership with, particularly USDA, along with local communities. One of the organizations on the agenda will be Natural Resource Conservation Services with USDA, and we have worked with NRCS over the years in partnership for program service delivery as relates to conservation program services. And conservation program services, and they'll talk about that in more detail as relates to the type of program that they offer. One, that's in the interest of both local communities as well as farmers and landowners, and specifically the area of new beginning farmers and micro-urban farmers. The other organization, that being USDA Farm Service Agency, that offers both the program side as well as the lending side. The program side with the organization, I'm hopeful that we will engage a little bit more in conversation as it relates to the program service delivery, both some things that should be coming up in the very near future, as well as specific program areas, what I call risk management, for those individuals who are producing vegetables or those who may become beginning farmers, either micro urban farmers or your regular type of farming operation. One of the other areas is USDA rural development. I'm not sure if USDA rural development is present today to discuss their program areas, but of course, I will say this. With Mr. Nash being present, he know and understand USDA rural development program services, those that were offered under his administration, how they work both from the grant program side as well as from the lending side. And those programs that are offered both to rural residents as well as local communities. And when I say local communities, I'm speaking of communities such as Sweet Home, Mountain Home area, as well as other rural small towns and rural areas in general, both in the area of housing, and that's both their loan program as well as their grant programs, and in the area of business development with both the grant program as well as the loan program that rural development offers, and cooperative loans and cooperative grants. They also have an energy program. That's a grant program that can be very beneficial to both businesses as well as farming operations. So the area that is very, very key and relevant to the foundation from which Arkansas Land and Farm Development Corporation was founded and should be on the agenda as well is air property. Air property is an area where African Americans have lost and continue to lose a lot of land because of the lack of planning, estate planning to deal with the future can be for assets that may have been put into place by the present generation or the previous generation. Now, there's a new law in Arkansas now called the Unified Air Property Act, which has changed this area as far as air property itself is concerned in comparison to what it was years ago, back in 1980 and when Arkansas Land and Farm Development Corporation was first founded. And under the old law, if one filed a petition, any heir, it could be a third cousin that had interest in property. But if they petition the courts, file a petition in courts, the land was normally always sold at public auction. And that happens so often in the African American community. And even today, it still happens, even with the Unified Air Property Act, if individuals do not understand the new law and how to take advantage of that new law. Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation has began to implement or to enhance its present program working with individuals with air property, and that's working with families to deal with estate planning. Estate planning is very crucial, and it's a very important tool when it comes down to air property and when it comes down to dealing with the protecting assets from a family and dealing with the next generation and opportunities for that next generation of individuals. So I'm going to let them proceed ahead with the program. I want to mention one other area, just in general at this point, but technology in agriculture. Technology in agriculture now is continuing to advance in so many ways. We have a youth program. Our youth program, we try to make our youth aware of technology, the benefits of technology, and having a better understanding of technology as it relates to business enterprises in general, but particularly as it relates to agriculture and career opportunities in agriculture. One area that we've been working with is with drones. The use of drones in agriculture, both from ranchers, those who are dealing with livestock production, as well as drones in agriculture, with having a better understanding of your crop enterprises and what may be occurring with those crops during the production time period. And that's from the point in time of planting the crops and what we call a pre-assessment of that crop in early stages of production, and then a post-assessment, intermediate type of assessment of the crops once they have been on the schedule of production for a time period, to make a determination of what may be occurring with that crop as it has to do with insects and other things that can occur and with particular plant production affecting yields as well as the income of individuals, of what you may have projected and planned for income and for the marketplace that you have been scheduled to deliver to. So again, I know this is going to be a energized meeting, one, and two, I'm looking forward to asking questions as a participant as well in the meeting with those who are participating on the agenda from USDA. Now, I won't be online throughout the program. I do have another Zoom meeting that I will have to get into back with the USDA and the Washington, D.C. office, hopefully with discussions that will be productive and positive for both our work as well as other organizations' work and the things that we seek to do to address the needs of our underserved communities. So, Ms. Williams, I'm going to turn it back over to you at this point, and I'm available for any questions that anyone may have, either in person or those who may be online.
Thank you, Dr. King. So as we all heard, our program and opportunity outlined today, we're going to move on. Mr. Anderson, did you want to come up and kind of brief us a little bit more about the Sweet Home community? If possible, Sure. Okay, thank you. I want to give you that opportunity now. So in case you have to leave or something.
Wasn't prepared for this, but as a retired Air Force member, I should always be prepared to give a speech on any subject. Again, my name is Andy Anderson. I am retired Air Force. I retired at the Little Rock Air Force Base in 1999. I got here in 1989, and I married into the Sweet Home community. I didn't know that when I married my wife, I also married the community. Now, this is a rural community. I was born and brought up in Biloxi, Mississippi, pretty much the same community that we have here in Sweet Home. There are a lot of areas we need to improve in. I know the sewage board was working very, very hard to get running water and sewage to each of the residents and homes in the area. It took them quite a few years to do this. A lot of the homes are still dilapidated, but there are people in the community who wants to improve. There is fertile farmland that people definitely want to start micro farms, regular farms, cattle. But there's going to be a competition because the Little Rock area, the metropolitan area, is spreading. Something has to give. If we have the country full of metropolitan areas, I don't think the pork chops and the ribeye steaks will be on the table anymore because there will be no room to grow them. So there are a lot of people who have been brought up in this type of community. They want to see it flourish. They want to see the schools grow. They want to see technology take off here in the area. And there is a great need for broadband and computer technology such as your LAN and your high-speed internet. However, people here are still using dial-up. That's supposed to have been gone 10 years ago. It's still alive and well here in the community. So anything ALCDC can do, and the agencies that are associated, is greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anderson, update and information of Sweet Home. This is my second time being in Sweet Home, and I don't thank you. Next, we're gonna have Natural Resource Conservation Services, which is NRCS that we know of. Representatives, Mr. Colin Williams, the urban conservationist of Pulaski County. We have Travis Cottle, a district conservationist of Pulaski County. So I'm gonna, I don't know if this can reach over there. I don't know. Oh, it's a mic. Okay, great. So if you want to start, Carolyn or Mr. Bush, Travis, either one. Want to start first? Yes, it's not. You may have to use. It's another chair. Is it on there?
It's on, but it's not on the right channel.
There it is. Thank you, Miss Berry.
Maybe this is start. All right, my name is Travis Cottle, and I am the district conservationist here in Pulaski County. I've been working with NRCS for 14 years, and I became a district conservationist last year, and it's been a pleasure serving the county as well as the Sweet Home community. Sweet Home is the home of a lot of our prolific urban growers, and NRCS is here to keep the ball rolling as far as urban farming.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Colin Williams. Like Ms. Beaton said, I am the urban conservationist here in Tallahassee County. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of some of our programs and the ones I get with the most, which is the EQUIP program, which stands for the Environmental Quality Incentives Program. Just to give you an overview of what it is. That program is our flagship program. It's what we do all our structural and management practices through. And when I say structural, that could be anything from high tunnels, fencing, watering facilities. And for our management practices, it could be pest management, nutrient management, implement the soil health system on your farm or urban farm. And typically how that program works is I would come out to your property and create your conservation plan. And you can use that plan for financial assistance. We typically do that through, we call it CTA, which stands for Certified Technical Assistance. How that program works is you can use that plan, like I said, for financial assistance, and it goes through a ranking and assessing process. Typically, that can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months. Then our state office starts putting those applications from highest to lowest. And that is between the times of March and September, when we would know if you got selected for that program. There are a few payment rate differences. So if you are a beginning farmer rancher, limited resource producer, or a veteran farmer or beginning farmer rancher, you are able to get a 9% up to a 90% cost share rate. If you do not meet any of those categories, then they have recently upped the cost share rate to 75%. So it has increased this year from 60 to 75. So that's roughly a 15% increase. I'm gonna let Travis touch on the Conservation Stewardship Program, which stands for CSP.
All right. So the Conservation Stewardship Program, or CSP, is our second program that we run. It's more so I would like to call it a rewards program for being good stewards of the land. It builds upon what a producer have done to their land through EQUIP. So let's say you've done nutrient management, which is pretty much you're going to the extension service and doing the soil samples, getting that soil samples and using their recommendations to get your fertilizer. Well, through CSP, you could take it a step further by using GPS technology to more effectively put out your fertilizer. And so through EQUIP, we call practices like nutrient management or let's say like watering facility, we call those practices. Through CSP, we call them enhancements, again, because you're building upon what has already been done through EQUIP, or you don't even have to go through EQUIP for this program. Let's say you've already done some conservation work on your land, then that'll give us a great basis to start you off with CSP. CSP comes with an incentive payment for signing up, which is $4,000. You can get that $4,000 for a total of 5 years. The program itself is a 5-year program. So whenever you do sign up for CSP, we would like for you to have control of that contract for a total of 5 years. And so that incentive program is, like I said, is $4,000. That's on top of the enhancements that you're taking on, because each of those enhancements, just like through EQUIP, they also have an associated cost with them. Those associated costs. So if, again, just like with EQUIP, if you're a beginner farmer, socially disadvantaged, veteran farmer, or limited resource farmer, you'll get that 90% cost share. And then if you are a white farmer, you'll get that 75% cost share. Recently we've been making steady updates to our CSP enhancements, especially through the realm of urban. And so a lot of our urban practices that you would normally do through EPA, they're becoming more accessible financially through CSP as well. I think that pretty much covers CSP. Go ahead, sir.
I just have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Is the enhancement program available to the very small, say, vegetable producers?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. We have several producers who, they let's say they have a garden in their backyard. They're part of our CSP program. And same thing with our EQUIP program. And we don't limit acres. Like I said, we have farmers who are gardening right outside their backyard. They're in both of our programs. Yes, sir.
Do you have to be part of the EQUIP program to be part of the PhD?
No, sir. No, sir. If you've already done some conservation work on your land or any type of let's say if you've done any type of urban farming or any type of farming, that gives us a good basis of where you could start with the CSP program.
I think I want to start with CSP.
Well, if you guys have a pen and paper, our office is at 8100 Bicentennial Road, North Little Rock, Arkansas, 72118. Yes, sir. That's 8100 Bicentennial Road, North Little Rock, Arkansas, 72118.
Is there a telephone number?
Yes,
501-777-3708. And that is my direct extension, so I'll be in one of contact.
And if you want to get in contact with me, my work cell, it is 479. It's a Bentonville number, 295-9141. And you could just shoot me a text with your name and tell me what you're doing, and I'll give you a call back.
$4,000 incentive,
Yes.
is that for, you use it for fertilizer, whatever you use it for to maintain the crops? Or the incentive is just to get you in the program?
Well, no, it's just a sign up. It's just a sign up payment. So let's say you'll come in, you say you want to sign up. We'll take you through the ranking process because CSP also has a ranking process. And we've kind of changed up our ranking process. We used to do it by area, I believe, but now it's by teams. That doesn't mean much to you guys, but all in all, it gives people a better shot of getting into the program. So let's say you did get into that program. So that first year, you won't have to do any enhancements. You won't have to do anything. You'll just be getting that $4,000 payment. The next year, that's when you'll start doing enhancements along with that following $4,000 and so.
Is that from April through September to sign up as well? Is there a cutoff date to sign up?
Cutoff dates are usually in November. But you can sign up anytime. So let's say if you was to come into the office this next week, you'll be signing up for fiscal year 26.
Is the $4,000 a one-time thing, or is it each year through the contract?
Each year through the contract. Each year through the contract. So potentially you can get up to 20,000. Well, yes, 20,000.
And then that is the minimum payment. It could possibly be more depending on what you do. Like Travis said, they do have different payment rates depending on what you do. For example, if you put in cover crops, that payment could be $1,000, and then there's some internal things, some internal tools that we use to get you that minimum payment rate. So you could possibly get roughly $5,000 that year versus the $4,000. That's just the minimum payment rate for that program.
Is there any questions?
I got a whole bunch of questions, but I just called you.
Yes. You have his number and address. Okay, is there any,
Ms. Williams, Ms. Williams,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have a question for, yes, I have a question for NRCS.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, you gave NRCS gave reference to that minimum payment of $4,000, and then, of course, how you can increase that payment based on your practices. What's the maximum payment that you can get out of one contract?
If things haven't changed, and it's been a while since it's been a while, but the maximum payment that a person can get, an individuals and entities, they get a different payment. Individuals can get $200,000, and then entities can get $400,000.
Yeah, that's over 5 years, so you'd be looking roughly at about anywhere from 20,000 a year, like 20,000 a year.
I believe so.
Yeah, over 5 years. 4,000.
Right. I was under the impression that the maximum payment was. I was under the impression that the maximum payment was $250,000 over a 5-year period.
Yeah, that payment might have increased. Like I said, it's been a while since I've heard that figure, and it very well might be 250,000. So yeah, you possibly are correct, very much so. Because I know recently in the recent years they have changed that. They have changed a lot of things dealing with our payment structure.
I have one other question in regards to of course, you have the CSP, the conservation stewardship practices, and I know, sometimes we need to make sure that people know what those abbreviations mean. And then you have the EQIP. Now, those are two separate program areas and two different contracts.
Yes, sir.
Can you have both? Can you have both contracts during the same time period?
Yes, you can have both contracts during the same period. The thing with that is, if you do have both going on at the same time, then we try to make it so that you don't have the exact same practices going in at the same time through both programs. So through EQIP, let's use the example of 590. 590 is nutrient management for us. In CSP, like I said, we use enhancements. So an enhancement to 590 would be, for example, E590A, which I believe that one is where you would implement fertilization through GPS through your tractor. If you're doing 590 through EQIP, let's say in year 2026, then you wouldn't be able to do it through CSP that year. So there are ways where you can maneuver those practices. So where you could do them through the same, at the same, in different programs at different times. So let's say in EQIP, you wanted to do 590 in year 2026, and then 2027 through CSP, you will do E590A. So you see how that works around. And then let's say in 2028, in EQIP, you want to come back and just do a regular 590. Those you can maneuver your practices where both programs can work in tandem with one another. Does that answer your question, Dr. King?
It answers part of the question. In addition to that, on the practices, can you put into the EQIP contract some of the conservation stewardship practices. The fact that this is a separate contract, and let's just say the first year, I know you have to meet all the requirements within the context of the crop with the EQIP contract, and say it says the hoop house, irrigation system, and all that is going in, and that first year you have completed it and you met the certification and requirements of your hoop house and all being put in. Then the individual was going to put in a cover crop within that first year. Would that qualify him for the $4,000 conservation stewardship practice as an inclusion in the EQIP contract?
Yeah, I don't think so. Well, no, I don't know, because you can't do CSP practices in EQIP. Well, you can't do the conservation stewardship programs in EQIP. However, you can do management practices in our EQIP program through CSP. So you can do EQIP through CSP, but you can't do CSP through EQIP. You can't have structural practices in the conservation stewardship program. However, you can have management practices through the conservation stewardship program, which is EQIP. So he's touching on cover crop, nutrient management, pest management. You can do those practices through CSP. However, there is a lower payment rate versus if you did it through EQIP. So let's say you want to do an enhancement through EQIP, then you can't do that because that's another program. Yes, sir.
And this is this next question is for the benefit of particularly of the urban small farmers. And Mr. Thompson gave reference to the availability of land in the Sweet Home area for beginning urban farmers. In that regard, we understand sometimes when land may have not been utilized for a period of time in those urban areas, and you may have some overgrowth that's on the land. Can that be included as a I would say a practice or an activity in the EQIP contract that would allow them to open up land so you have more productive land as a part of the EQIP contract? And that may be taking out underbrush and things of that nature.
Yes, sir. We do have a conservation practice called brush management. That's a managed practice as well, and you can do that through EQIP. Yes, sir.
Also, depending on the type of vegetation, like brush management is one. If you have more so weeds out there, we could do herbaceous weed control, which is another practice through EQIP. So it just depends on the type of vegetation that's undesirable that's out there. More woody stemmed vegetation would be handled through brush management, and more so weeds like buttercup would be handled through herbaceous weed control.
I have a question. Let's say that there's 15 acres of land over at Sweet Home that was owned by a man and woman. They're both dead. They had 5 children. 2 of them are dead. 3 are still living. The original owners did not leave a will. Is it possible for those owners, those heirs, to apply for either one of these programs?
Yes, it is. Which the normal process would be going through FSA first. It would be important to figure out who would be the landowner in the situation and the operator, because whoever is having control of that, whoever is having control of that land or is working that land, they would have to have control of the contract for 5 years for the duration of the contract. But yes, that it is possible.
You said whoever is, what you said?
Whoever is the owner of the land, or whoever they're allowed to have, whoever they're allowing to put conservation practices on their land. So like in that situation, let's say it's the sister who has the deed, and let's say the brother is going to go in with her as the operator of the land, who's going to do all the work of the land. They can effectively put the contract under the brother's name, and they would just have to work out an agreement between them. And on our end for NRCS, we would come up with a form called a control of land, and that pretty much states that the sister gives permission to the brother to put NRCS practices on the land. But essentially, to your question, the short answer would be yes.
Yes. So the deed again is in the original name, but if the heirs sign a form that you have that says that they are the operators, then that operator can make application on behalf of the other heirs.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
I have one other question in relationship that Mr. Nash, that's a very good question, and I think part of your answer is going to also come from Farm Service Agency, because there's a step that is very, very important before anyone can access the services from NRCS, and that is a farm number. You must have a farm number. And in most cases where you have the urban micro farms, if you have 5 acres, 2 acres, or whichever, they may be still registered as lots or just land, in the area, depending upon how the city or the community have it, how the plat is laid out, or maybe as multiple lots. So the first thing they'll have to get is a farm number. And I think they're going to a Farm Service Agency next. And Farm Service Agency is going to let us know what their requirements are to get that farm number. And once they get the farm number, then NRCS can offer those services. Am I correct? NRCS?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there any other questions online, Mike? All right. Thank you, NRCS. Let's give them a hand. I would like to back a little bit and would like to let you know about the restrooms outside the door there. The man is on the right, first one, and the ladies, the next. And on behalf of Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation, we have refreshments back there, and you are welcome to it. So enjoy. Our next representatives are from Farm Service Agency, FSA. We have Ms. LaShonda Tucker with as the County Executive Director of Pulaski County, Little Rock. And next, Natasha Berry, which she's with the Farm Loan Program as Farm Loan Manager with Pulaski County and Phillips County, right? All right, so we're going to give them an opportunity to speak on behalf of the FSA agency. Farm Program, I would say go first.
Okay. So good afternoon. I am LaShonda Tucker, Pulaski County Executive Director. I have been with FSA for 8 years. I have been in this current position since last year in June. But before I get started and we go any further, I'm gonna let Cheryl Massey, she's our state outreach coordinator, touch on, what Mr. Mr. Nash was talking about with the family and having them deed their property. We'll let Cheryl touch on that before we go, any further, widespread. Good morning, you want to come up?
Good morning. Just to briefly touch on heirs property. Heirs property, as we know, is land that's been left behind that does not have a will or doesn't have split out. It's not split out evenly amongst the families or to who it should be left to. With FSA, we do not have at this time currently here in Arkansas a relending program. And with heirs property, Ms. Tucker is going to tell you what you need to do in order to get a farm number, which what Mr. King was talking about as far as the most important thing to do to receive any benefits from FSA or NRCS. Because without that farm number, you can't do anything. As far as with heirs property, and I don't know if Mr. King, Dr. King, if you wanted to elaborate on that, because other than getting your farm number, there's really not much that FSA is doing at the moment in Arkansas with heirs property, because we have a relending program. However, we don't have any relending users here in the state of Arkansas. There are some around the state of Arkansas where there are not none in the state of Arkansas. So does that help you out a little bit with that?
Well, yes, just in reference to that, and if an individual, what's acceptable by Farm Service Agency, if there's an heir property situation, what is important is that those are, and the question that Mr. Nash had, if they will be able to access the services. If there are three individuals, the heirs can agree, then they need to assign an individual to have the administrative authority for that heir property. And we can work with individuals in developing that type of document and saying that they are the administrator for the estate. So if the individual is the administrator for the estate, then that individual can lease the property to either a family member or anyone that they want to lease the property to, and then they can go in with that lease agreement and secure with that documentation that they have so authorized John Doe to be the administrator for the estate, then John Doe should be able to go in with a description of the property and that document that they are the legal administrator and get a farm number. So that two-step.
Is he asking?
Well, it would not necessarily be a power of attorney. It would basically be you may say a resolution from the individual members, but definitely that there is a document that is notarized that these are the legal heirs, that is so giving the administrative authorization to John Doe over the estate of their parents. So a legal document to that effect should work. Now, it's my understanding also Farm Service Agency has in certain areas, in certain offices, and maybe it's consistent across with FSA, that if an individual had been paying taxes on the property for the other heirs, and they have copies of those receipts where they have paid the taxes for the past 5 years or 10 years, that they may be eligible to serve as the administrator and to get a farm number with them having a description of the property, whose name the property is in, their parents, and proof and evidence that they have been acting in that capacity, carrying out the activities for the other heirs, paying taxes is one example of that. Now, my understanding, the FSA has accepted that in certain cases. I don't know if that's consistent, with all areas, but I do know that a notarized legal document saying that the administrative authorization has been given to an individual, that being an individual heir to the property by the other heirs, should work, along with the description of the property that they are seeking to get a farm number with.
Is that, Kevin just said on the first point he made about paying the taxes, that's without the authorization of the other heirs, Calvin? Without the authorization of the other heirs?
No, they have to be.
That is without the authorization of the other heirs. Basically, now I have heard some FSA individuals say that they can bring such documentation in, and really it's basically saying that this individual has evidence that they have been acting in an administrative manner with the responsibility of dealing with the land or with the estate. And with that evidence, now this is from some of the FSA individuals, they have accepted that as proof and evidence that this person, with the description of the property and is a legal heir to that estate, has assumed and has been acting in an administrative manner to deal with the estate of the property at hand, and that would be without having the legal document. But I recommend that they have a legal document drafted, and they have the other heirs to sign on to that document, along with the added evidence where they have been serving in that capacity and acting in that capacity as an heir to the estate, such as paying taxes.
And as the executive administrator of the property, they would need to be known as the executive administrator of the property.
The executive administrator of the property.
In our system as well.
All the heirs.
Yes, all the heirs.
I'm sorry, all the heirs have to say that again?
All the heirs need to be in agreement. So if they have an executive order saying that they're going to be the executive administrator, then they would have that in place already.
Yes.
Yes.
Not just paying the taxes, you have to have both.
You would need both, because what if you're going to get a loan on that land? You're going to have something saying
Yes.
that you're the executive, that you're allowed to make those decisions on that property.
Yes.
And then when you find that if the heirs are deceased, then their children got children. The children see their children. Wow, that's a long. Yeah. That's all I say.
The reason I ask this question is because historically I know that there's probably more land that's heir property land than owned by an individual in rural Arkansas.
Yes.
And so you have to deal with these issues. You all have to go by rules and regulations. And the people applying have to comply with your rules and regulations, want to know what they are.
Correct.
So is there any questions on this? Okay.
My father is 92. We own about 100 acres on the top part of Blaston County, and I don't believe that myself and my brother is on the deed. So I mean, he's still living. Thank God. But at this point, to make sure we don't get caught up in the court system, do we need to make sure our names are on those deeds while he's
Still alive? Yes.
And also,
Right now,
yes, on the wheel, right? He has a wheel, but does property automatically go over to?
depending on what we are.
He has a wheel. I just thought we said he.
We did.
Because I know power of attorney stops when the person dies, so I understand that. So we need to make sure that our name is on the actual deed. Am I correct?
Correct.
I have some input on that. It used to be, when your spouse or your parents or your sibling died, and the only person that's left is one person in the family, it automatically goes to that living member of the family. That is no longer the case. All property has to go through probate. You can sign off a power of attorney, even a will, that don't matter anymore. If the will has to be probated, and that's another.
Sure is. But that is the thing that's on the physical deed.
What he's saying is, once you go to probate, that's when your name can be put on the deed.
Yeah.
Correct.
It doesn't automatically happen.
But my dad is living now.
Get put on that.
He put on that now. If my dad, if he's living, good health. If we put our name on the deed now, it shouldn't go to probate.
No, it'll go to probate. If your father is living and he has a will, he must take his will to the courthouse to register his will, and that's the probate process. If he passes away without a probated or a registered, court-registered will, then that can be challenged. I just went with it. My wife passed away a year and a half ago, and I thought all of her deeds, she was the only family member living, I thought all of her property came to me, and that was not the case.
We're planning a statement. So that's exactly,
We're gonna address a lot of these issues in the estate planning workshop that's coming up. And we hope to point out alternatives, because that you can develop trust, which will avoid probate, and there are LLCs, and like you were saying, if you can get your name put on the deed, it's your property. It is your property. So there are alternatives to spending a lot of money trying to prove something is yours. That's very fair evaluation. If it goes to that level, then it has to go to the building.
No, I thought they were had a presentation. I thought they had a presentation.
So to get back to what Farm Service Agency does. Okay, we are still in the presentation. I know this is a really touchy subject. And I think we need to move on because LaShonda is still in her presentation. And we do have the farm loan manager here. It's Natasha Berry. So we're gonna get into probably again with that same subject with air property. And so we're gonna continue, but we can, after this, discuss it a little bit further if we have the time. So right now we wanna move on. So thank you, thank you. So in our office, it starts with us, Farm Service Agency, with creating your farm numbers to get you started with not only with our programs, but with NRCS programs as well. And we are Pulaski County with Urban Ag Initiative. And so with Urban Ag, that consists of micro-urban farming and just urban farming, which urban farming is small scale farming in an urban setting. And this can be done by vertical growing, raised beds, high tunnels, or indoor growing. And micro farming is considered backyard growing, an acre or less. Anything more than that, it would be urban farming. And so that's what we are assisting now, as well as our row crop producers anyone that is wanting to grow in their backyard, on their rooftop, just anything small. We can assist you with getting you a farm number, creating you a farm number, and that's where your deed or your lease comes into play with us, because we would have to have that to have the dimensions to create your farm numbers. So once your farm number is created, all the proper paperwork is done, which if anyone is interested in getting a farm number created, we do have examples of the forms that you would have to fill out as far as the steps that you would need to take to have your farm number created with us. Once your farm number is created, all paperwork is completed, then you can apply with programs with NRCS as well as programs with FSA. And so that would be urban farming. And then let's see, I think the other one is to talk about is CRP, which is Conservation Reserve Program. That is a contract, a voluntary program that is a contract with FSA. And it is a 10 to 15 year contract saying that you will not farm the land, that you will put your land in either grass or trees. And there are different enrollments with CRP. You have your general enrollment, which is based on like a ranking position, and then you have continuous, which you can enroll in that at any time. General CRP has a deadline, continuous doesn't, basically. And again, both programs, you would either put in grass or trees. You would determine what would be best, or I guess that is where NRCS would come in. They would help you to decide what would be best for your land. And they kind of how CRP works. So we do the program, we do the paperwork, they do the field work. So with CRP. So, but and with CRP, that is an annual payment. Within that 10 to 15 year contract, it's an annual payment. If that's a program, you think that your land you would be interested in with your land. And
you pay the land.
Ma'am.
You pay the land for
yes, we will pay it
yearly.
That is annually, yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. And with that land, it has to you have to have had farmed the land previously, 4 to 6 years previously before putting it in CRP. And then you have to have had to be a producer for a year before putting it in CRP as well. So that's any questions as far as?
So can you put in the house anything on the land other than
grass or trees?
No longer just grass or trees.
Grass or trees.
Wow.
Yes.
On the grass and trees, does it have to be irrigated land?
I don't think so. I think it could be non-irrigated as well.
And that may be my situation, because my grandfather had tractors, well, he passed, but I live a little while now, I don't have the equipment anymore to actually do row crops. So we lease it out to the guy in our area. Mm-hmm. Trees and grass may be more suitable for me, because I can still drive a tractor, but I don't have equipment to actually farm the land. Mm-hmm. But the trees and crops, that's a 10-year?
10 to 15 years.
10 to 15 years. And what's the percent payout on that?
I don't remember, we just did that, I'm sorry. The soil rental rate. Do you remember, Veronica? Now we just did that, and I'm so sorry I don't have that with me, but I'll give you my card and you can just call me and I can get the soil rental rate for you. And it could be up, could be down, your annual payment, that's just something you would have to decide if that would be best for you to do that program or continue leasing it out to the producer.
And I guess at this point in February, today, anything for 2025 to get in any kind of program?
Not with FSA. We are currently in our fiscal year 2025. for our programs. NRCS deadline was, November of last year for 2025.
Thank you.
Based on what you know about the typical leasing property, based on what you know about the conservation program payment, and you say generally which one's better in terms of the dollar amount, just generally?
Well, I'm new to Pulaski, but I was in the lead in Marietta.
Yeah.
I had a lot of producers.
Yeah.
That did CRP.
Yeah.
Annually, yeah.
And they generally get more from that from the CRP program than from leasing to someone?
That I don't know, because, you know, leasing is between the producer and the owner.
Yes.
I'm trying to find something, you know, maybe it's not a farm. I mean, I got the land, but I don't have equipment to actually.
I have a fact sheet with me. I can give you this, you can read on it, and, if I can email you more information on it and you determine if that'll be a better fit for you than leasing out your land.
So this program not a chopping block, is it?
Janie. Janie.
State director for the FSA program.
There's not a new state.
State.
We have a deputy state director. We do not have a new state director at this time.
The one who is gone,
Yes, she's
and you don't have a new one yet.
No, sir, we have a deputy state director.
And here in Washington.
He's acting as the state director.
Yeah.
Dr. King.
How about the rural development? Is that
Yes, sir.
rural development?
They're not. One moment, Don.
Is there a new rural development state director?
Mr. Nash, Kim Marshall, USDA Rural Development, she's acting, she's a deputy.
Who is it?
Kim Marshall.
Oh, yes, he is, but you're development.
Yes.
Sir, baby. On the CRP and the soil rates, there's, each county has a different rate. Yes, it depends on the soil. Now, I know the NRCS are telling you that they would do that. You had a question? Don had a question?
Yes, I do. And this, yes, I have both a question and I also have a statement, particularly in reference to the participant regarding the Conservation Reserve Program, putting it into the reserve program, and then other options that may be available to them if they have the necessary acreage. And it sounds like the individual has a farm that they have leased out, and he's trying to make a determination, the fact that they do not want to farm, which is going to be more beneficial for them to put it in the Conservation Reserve Program. And of course, the analysis of that will be how much rent are they getting per acre now, and then how much would be paid per acre by the Conservation Reserve Program. And, that varies, again, based on the assessment of the soil types, and other factors. The other thing that individuals may want to consider, if it's 40 acres or more, is the Conservation Easement Program. Now, the Conservation Easement Program, which comes under NRCS, Natural Resource Conservation Services, we did not talk about that particular program area. We were focusing more on the urban and micro farming from an agriculture perspective in that community. But the Conservation Easement Program, you have, I think, a 15-year period of time that you can have it in the program, and you are paid over a period of time, or you can put it into a conservation easement program that is permanent. Now, but if we could just very, very briefly go back to NRCS regarding conservation easement.
Okay. Mr. Cottle, he just
want to say something briefly to your statement.
Yes, Robert King, as far as the field office goes, we don't have too much dealings with easements. That would be more so coming from our state office. And they've just switched. Yeah, they've just switched hands to a new easement coordinator. I can't remember her name at the moment, but the field office, we used to play a part in easements, but things have changed, and field officers, we no longer really handle easements.
No, I wasn't speaking from who actually implements the contract itself and deal with the determination, but just basically how the conservation easement program works. You have a permanent easement, and then you have an easement that is not permanent. I'm thinking it's 15 years when it's not a permanent, and it's so much per acre for the 15-year program. And under the permanent easement, and it's for both irrigated and non-irrigated land. I think the gentleman gave reference to possibly that being irrigated land. Of course, you get the maximum payment if it is irrigated land. Some of the figures, as I recall, at one time for irrigated land on a permanent easement was about $3,800 an acre, or $3,000+ an acre. That means you cannot farm the land, and it is in that conservation easement program permanently, and you can implement certain practices on the land. I mean, you could plant certain grasses being one, or you could put it in the trees, which is another option. And of course, while you cannot do row crop farming, after a period of time, depending upon how the plan is developed, the full maturity of the trees, you could have a tree harvesting plan as a part of that once the trees reach maturity. The other is that if you put it into certain grasses, and again, the state individual develop those plans that best fit the individual landowner and the other type of payments that they may be eligible for outside of the payment for participation in conservation easement. I know Ducks Unlimited, I think they're implementing one under the RCPP program that deals with conservation easement. And of course, from the state office, they do have individual independent contractors that work with developing those conservation easement plans. But I would recommend to that individual that they do an analysis, or we will work with them through the process. Our office will, to get the individuals to look at both the conservation stewardship practices, what that represents, versus the conservation easement program sign up, and what could be more economically beneficial for that family. But I just wanted to say that. And Ms. Williams, I'm going to be signing off. I'm going to have to get ready to get into this to this other meeting. But I really appreciate all of the partner agencies that's there, as well as those who are there in person. I would like for FSA to give to speak very briefly to our audience regarding the NAP program, the non-assurable risk management, as I call it, risk management for vegetable producers. I also want to give reference to FSA on the direct lending. Now, the maximum loan amount is still $50,000 for the micro loan. I know that's on the loan. That's not on the program side. That's on the lending side.
Yes, the limit is $50,000 for micro loans. Did you hear that?
Okay. Again. Yes, I did. That maximum is $50,000 for an operating loan and $50,000 for land purchase.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I'm going to sign off. I have really enjoyed this. I am sure that you all said, well, it's better for you to be online than to be in person, because I can be more engaging in person. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much. So the program he just mentioned now is our non-insured crop assistance program. This is a disaster program for fruits and vegetables. We do try to encourage our urban producers, our small farmer producers to sign up for NAP. It is again for fruits and vegetables. So there is not a fee right now anyway for our socially disadvantaged at this time. And socially disadvantaged is anyone other than a white male, basically. So that program, we do try to encourage our smaller producers to sign up for, or even just a fruit and vegetable producer to sign up for it. There could be a potential payment depending on the yield of the crop loss, production loss. There could be a potential payment with that program.
Okay. All right, is there any questions?
Mr. Sherman, does the NAP program cover nut trees, pecans?
It does. And honey, I'm sorry, it does cover honey as well, honeybees.
And we sign up dates?
That just depends on the crop, what the deadline would be. Right now, I know for a lot of the fruits and vegetables, February 28th will be the deadline.
What is the interest rate and the term?
No interest rate, there's a service fee, and that's what the socially disadvantaged form is. It waives the service fee. The service fee right now is $325 per crop. And so filling out that socially disadvantaged form, it waives that fee.
And so you're only paying back the principal?
You're not paying anything.
Oh, it's a grant?
So actually, no, it's a program, it's a disaster program.
Okay.
So yeah, we don't have grants in our office. So yeah, it's a disaster program.
Okay.
Like a forgivable loan?
Like
a forgivable loan?
It's not even a loan.
Oh, really?
No, it's the program. It's the program.
It's okay.
Basically.
Yeah.
Okay, for disaster relief.
Yeah, okay.
We call it risk management, but it's basically for disaster relief.
Yeah, because your loss has to be due to a natural disaster. Excessive rain, freezing, something that's a natural disaster. And get one could be considered a natural disaster, yeah. And with that, like you would have to come in, you would have to certify your crops, anything you plant. And our certification date is ends July 15th of every year. So you will certify anything that you plant. You come to the office as if you were interested in signing up for that program. That's one of the things you have to do for that program. Yes, sir.
In the case of a disaster that occurred and dollars were allocated from USDA for that program, is there any way for one heir to know whether someone got a payment on that program? Is that public information? It's not.
So with this program, that producer is gonna come and sign up under that program.
Right.
You have to keep like your production and everything, you have to keep that up. You have to certify.
Right.
Only you will know if you have, your crop has been destroyed.
Yes.
You would come in and you would file a claim.
Right.
With us.
Right.
The loss adjuster will go out, will assess your crops.
Right.
Send back his report. And then we go from there to see if you even have a payment due to you. It just depends on
But I'm assuming it goes through the
But
whole
if
process
no one-
and you do get paid. I'm saying you got paid. My question is, does one heir who's not involved in that has a right to know what the payment was?
If they are not in our system and they can show us proof that they are like on the, have some paperwork saying, yes, I'm an owner on this property, we can give them, well, we couldn't give them what they got, right? We couldn't give them what they got. We couldn't give them that information.
Oh, you could not?
What we are allowed to only give them certain information, but we wouldn't be able to tell them what monies they got.
Even if you were owner of the land?
That's-
You would have to give release or information pertaining to you. You would have to do a release saying you gotta pay for something. You would have to sign something saying that you could release that information to that person. Before.
Okay, next we're gonna have Natasha Barrett to continue. From Doc's questions.
Good afternoon. I'm Natasha Barrett, Farm Loan Manager for Pulaski County, Lonoke County, Prairie County, and Monroe County. And I'm also acting Farm Loan Manager for Phillips County and Lee County. I would like to thank Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation for allowing me a chance to speak on the agenda today. Today, I will be discussing 3 of our loan programs. These are our most used loan programs, which is the direct loan program, the micro loan program, and the guaranteed loan program. I will be discussing on what these loans funds can be used for, security requirements, and the interest rates that will be available at the time your loan is approved. For the micro loan program, this is our loan program that is geared to small farmers that are just getting into farming. The loan funds can be used for annual operating expenses as far as purchasing seed, chemicals, fuel. This is a 1-year loan. It's due back to be paid in 1 year from the date that you signed the promissory note. The limit is $50,000. You can also use micro loan funds for equipment purchases. If you use the funds for equipment purchases, you do have a 7-year term to pay that back. You will have 7 annual installments. You can purchase any equipment, and you can split the $50,000. You can use $25,000 for your annual operating expenses, and you can use $25,000 for your equipment purchases. The micro loan program, you can also use those funds to purchase real estate. You will have $50,000 available for you. It is a 25-year term that you will have to pay it back. You can do 25 years or less. Once you get your interest rate on this loan program, you are locked in for the duration of the loan, but the micro loan interest rate is 5%. If the direct loan interest rate is lower than 5%, the micro loan, you can get that interest rate at that rate as well. The next loan program is our direct loan program. Now, this loan program is our most used loan program. It's geared for our bigger farmers that needs more than the $50,000 that the micro loan program pays. You use these funds the same way. You can use it for annual operating expenses. You can use it for equipment purchases. You can also use it to refinance debt from other creditors. The interest rate this month for our loan program, for the direct loan program, is 5.125. Like I said, once you get your interest rate, you're locked in. The interest rate can go down between February and March. Your interest rate is decided on when your loan is approved, okay? So just keep that in mind. The $400,000 is available to SDA applicants, and also it's also available to non-SDA applicants. There are some security requirements. Under the new rule that was released September the 25th of 2024, security requirements has been lessened. Previously, the security requirements was 150% of your loan amount. Under this new rule, we only take 125% security for your direct loans, okay? For the micro loan, I must say that their security requirement is 100%. The guarantee loan program. Now this loan program is geared to our bigger farmers that needs more than $400,000 for their operation. And usually these farmers are non-beginning farmers. These farmers have more experience, they have more acres, and they need more borrowing power. If I'm not mistaken, I always get this wrong. The loan limit for the guaranteed program, I think, is 2. I'm just gonna say 2.1. It may be a little more than that because it changes during each fiscal year. But what the applicant must do, they must find a lender that has been trained to do guaranteed loan programs. And in the state of Arkansas, each area should have a guaranteed lender that is available to do a guaranteed loan. The lender is FSA customer. You are the lender's customer. So the application would be completed with the lender, and the lender would send us the application. Once we get that application, it will be reviewed. You have to meet certain eligibility requirements. And what we do with that guaranteed loan is what we're doing is we are guaranteeing the bank or the financial institution 90% and sometimes 95% for beginning farmers, that if that loan is not paid back by the farmer, we're guaranteeing them that we're going to pay them 95 or 90% of that loss back. All right. So, but that guarantee program is available. And like I said, those loan funds can also be used for annual operating expenses, equipment purchase, and to refinance debt from other creditors as well. So those are our 3 loan programs. I do want to touch a little on our application process for the direct loans. Our application process is, we do have an application. It's probably, I think, 12 pages. And on those 12 pages, don't let it scare you, but on those 12 pages, the first few pages is basically name, address, and social security numbers and stuff like that. But that first page of that application is very important. You would mark if you're applying as an individual, an entity, or a married couple. On that application is also going to tell you what part you will complete as an individual, married couple, or entity. You must put a loan amount on the application, and you must specify what you're going to be using the loan funds for. There also is a number of questions like, have you ever received an FSA loan? Have you ever filed bankruptcy, and so forth. With that application, you will submit it as completed as possible. And with it, we will ask that you submit a credit report fee. The credit report fee for individuals is $16, married couples $24.50, and entities $50. The last page of that application, it tells you the submission requirements, that it tells you everything that you have to submit with that application, okay? So I would advise, if you're interested in filling out the application, is to obtain an application, fill it out as much as you can, and then contact your local FSA office if you have questions or need further assistance in completing the rest of your application. Once we receive your application, FSA is on a time frame. We have 7 days to review your application. If your application is not complete, you will receive a letter within those 7 days. And in that letter, it's gonna give you an additional 15 days to provide us the required information for a complete application. After those 15 days, if we still have not received everything that we need for a complete application, we will give you an additional 15 days for a total of 30 days. We're giving you 30 days to provide us everything we need to make an eligibility determination and a loan decision. If we do not receive everything within 30 days that was asked in both of your letters, we will withdraw your application. So we hope it don't get to that point. We do want to make an eligibility determination, and we do want to do a loan decision, and we do want to make you a loan. So it's very important not to ignore those notifications when we ask you for something. So are there any questions regarding the application process, the rec loan program, the micro loan program, or the guarantee loan program? We do not do grants.
You know, people looking for that free money. Everybody wants that. You get the free money, right?
And there's also one other thing I want to touch on. I mentioned about the new rule that was released September the 25th, 2024. There was a lot of updates under that new rule, but the three most important things that I took away that I thought would help the customer more is the less security that we require. When they lessened their rule, it took the chance of us taking a lien on your personal residence and real estate. So that's a big plus. Also, we now offer flexible payment options. We can do interest only for your first year, which will help your cash flow margin. So that's a plus. And we also have what we call the distressed borrower set aside. If you're distressed and you cannot make your payment the first year, you can request that it be set aside to the end of your note. So these three things under the new rule is going to be very beneficial to the beginning farmer and the non-beginning farmer. So I think that everybody should take these options and take advantage of them under these loan programs. Yes, sir.
Is Farm Credit Mid-America or Mid-South one of your customers?
Yes, we do guarantee loans through them in each area. Are there any more questions? Not one in the audience. No one wants a loan, they just want a grant.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much. We are almost there. However, I am going to ask Mr. Mr. Nash.
Make a few comments before you close out.
Well, I would like for you to come up and speak a little bit and kind of expound on what you do and what you could give us or give the audience some nuggets.
All right.
All right.
I won't take long. Let me just say that I'm so happy to be here. And as Calvin said, I was Undersecretary for Rural Development under the Clinton administration. And I had 12,000 employees in about a $8 billion a year budget. And we did rural development. That meant water, sewer, housing, small business, broadband, community centers like this all over the country. We had an office in every state, in just about every county in the United States of America, except like New York City, basically rural areas. So I want to make just two or three points. One is this panel, I've probably been to about 2,000 panels like this all over the country. And this panel, these people here are as good as anyone else. Next thing I want to say is Arkansas Land and Farm Development Corporation. I'm proud to say I was one of the founders of this organization roughly 40 years ago. And it is as good a resource as you can find anywhere in this state and in the South. And I would encourage those of you who are here to tell your friends about ALCDC and what they do. And because land is a commodity, and you know they're not making it anymore. African Americans in the 20s owned about 25 million acres of land in the rural areas. Today, it is less than 4 million acres. And a lot of that land has been lost through devious means, adverse possession, unfair tax sales, partition sales, and other unfair practices. And it's continuing today. And it's as good as gold. They're not making anymore. And you see what the price of food is doing. It's going up. It's going to continue to go up. And for those people who say, oh, I don't want to mess with a little acre of land for fruits and vegetables. Let me tell you something, it's going to make a difference in this world, believe me. And I would encourage all of you to utilize the information here. You can only touch the surface here today. And these folks, they have rules and regulations they have to go by. And anybody who thinks that taking advantage of these programs is easy, you're wrong. All right? You've got to do it, you got to go through the process. It'll make a difference to you. And I just want to say, I just came today because when the captain sent me the note and said you're going to be here, and I live in Little Rock. I'm retired. I mean, I've worked for USDA for a couple of years. I was undersecretary. Then I went to the White House and I ran the personnel office. So I recruited people who ran the government, undersecretaries, deputy secretaries, secretaries, White House staff, and others. I asked a question about there are two political appointees, at least two, for USDA. One is the state director for rural development, and the other is the state director for farm services. And those people, the permanent folks, will be appointed pretty soon. So y'all need to get to know who they are. But they do the work. Yeah. Right. These people do the work. Yeah. But that's basically what I want to say. And I want to say thank you for coming. Tell other people about ALCDC, please. Yes. It's a valuable resource. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Mr. Nash. We appreciate your stopping by.
Yes.
We want to thank you all for coming and stopping by and just to listen to us, what USDA have to say. And I want to thank USDA as well, because when we ask, they come. And I appreciate that. It makes me feel good that I'm doing what Calvin is expecting me to do. And we just want to thank you all for helping us to meet our goal to achieve outreach program resource service delivery for underserved communities and residents. And that is it. Again, we have our staff here, Mr. Lofton, which is our Director of Ag Farm Program Division. Michael, who is our IT person, Michael Tucker, and Farm Advisor, Barbara Irving, as our Director of Public Relations, and me, myself, Janie Williams, Farm Advisor and Youth Director. Again, thank you. Y'all have a safe trip back.